So, to move on, the second part of this discussion was going to be pointed to Trustee Goldberg. He did state that he wasn't given anything in the way of cuts from the fire chief. In fact, he wondered why volunteers were not even considered. In fairness to Chief Markey, we have heard this before, and the response was always the same from the resident. You want me to come down to supplement this department, put my life on the line, work in conditions relatively alone against all rules that should be followed for reduction in my taxes? Forget it. However, in all fairness to Trustee Goldberg, he should have been brought down to the fire department and shown all the mandates that are followed or not followed because we don't have the proper manpower. He should have then seen how we operate and all the tasks that we can accomplish, the condition of our equipment, the condition of our apparatus, the lack of training, and all the out-of-service radios because of the lack of parts we have, which is a major concern. The problem is, without you coming down there and doing that, that might have, I guess, how would you want to put it better, have helped us or hurt us in the cause of losing our executive officer. He could have been shown, he would have been able to witness all that is done as it pertains to the fire inspections, our extensions, our permit fees, and more. He could have seen our beautiful trailer park, which houses not only firefighters, but seasonal guests as well. Getting back to volunteering, which was one of his perks, as of right now, on the South Orange website, I noticed that you're still looking for volunteers for cable TV in South Orange, cable TV, the South Orange Seton Hall Partnership, and public information and marketing committees. It doesn't mention that you need any knowledge and or experience in the committees. It just says send a resume. My guess is that you're looking for bodies to contribute free of charge, a pretty good gesture. Volunteering for the fire department is not like volunteering for one of your committees. The committees mentioned above pose no threat to life and health of the individual. We work in uncontrolled environments with a great risk of injury and possibly death. So let's look at three components: response time, manpower, and apparatus. Response time is critical, especially in the first 10 minutes. Ironically, the first 10 minutes of a fire is the first drill each tour completes in the beginning of the year. Within these 10 minutes, we must secure a water supply, stretch hose lines into a structure, locate, confine, and extinguish a fire while providing horizontal and vertical ventilation for the search and rescue teams for a quick knockdown, keeping injuries and property loss to a minimum. It seems simple, but without the proper manpower, when one or more on the list isn't completed at just the right time, the fire begins to evolve, and what you now have is a second alarm fire requiring multiple agencies from outside South Orange to respond to contain this fire. During my trek through all the counties that I mentioned before, I came upon some volunteer fire departments. They were nice enough to allow me inside. I told them what I was there for. I asked them many questions. Those that pertain to response times, more than half on the average, told me that it takes them 20 to 25 minutes before there is a ladder and an engine company on the scene.
Sir, excuse me. I think we can stipulate to the fact that you feel there are too few firefighters, that there's inadequate equipment,
sure,
and the equipment we have is not maintained or is sufficient. I don't think the suggestion with respect to considering supplemental firefighters who might be volunteers was a suggestion made by Trustee Goldberg, because I was there, that it be in lieu of the current professional firefighting staff. It was a suggestion that it could be a source, as has been done in some communities in America, to provide supplemental firefighters. Nothing was resolved. No decisions were made. It was an idea thrown out at a meeting. We just, frankly, don't have the time this evening to go through a dissertation about, because you're now looping back to the beginning of your conversation about why we have too few staff, inadequate equipment, and a lot of broken equipment. We understand this position, okay? You've made this...
Well, when do you think would be the right time to respond?
I think we need to set up a meeting with the chief and with the Public Safety Committee and have this conversation. Okay?
You know, I'm sure we've tried that place.
This is a public comment period, but this is not a period where you're going to get continuing feedback. It's just not practical in this setting.
I'm just stating a fact. Is that wrong? I mean, this is what
There's
we're here
nothing
for,
wrong,
right?
but you're now going back through the same thing you started with 25 minutes ago. So
No, what I did was I brought up volunteers. This was something that Mr. Goldberg brought up.
Okay, so you're opposed to volunteers?
No, I'm not opposed to them. I'm saying if you can get them, that would be great. If you listen.
But we're not going to discuss, it's not on the agenda, you know, I'm just in the...
That was one of the reasons why I think why we eliminated the EO. It was one of the things that we should have been considered.
Sir, it was not even the least bit related to it.
Well, that's what was brought up at the meeting. It said that we didn't give any reason for the cuts. In fact, we didn't even look at volunteers. Well, we did.
Can I ask you, you had another point you wanted to talk about, which is the construction of the firehouse.
Where are we at with the construction of the fire department?
John, can you give an update?
We continue to work with the bonding company to make small but some level of progress. While I don't have any dates at this point in time, I wouldn't want to offer them. I do expect some significant work to be done over the next week in terms of getting the gas turned on and actually starting up the major components of the infrastructure there. So that I got a call this afternoon about that, and they expect that they'll actually have the gas on sometime this week. So.
And explain for a moment why the gas is critical, even though we're in the middle of the summer.
The gas is critical because the HVAC system is fired up by a combination of gas and electric, and in order to conclude our agreements with the contractors and move forward, they have to be able to fire up all that equipment and test it and make sure that it's working properly, so that we can finish our contract with them. So that's probably, to me, that's the most gnawing issue that we need to get resolved. Everything else, I think, will emanate from there. I mean, there's a lot of little things that need to be done, and I know, you're asking me the question. I know you know very well what the circumstances down there. The reality is that we're on the tail end of having a horrific experience with two horrific contractors. So.
Well, I guess I'll look forward to the public safety meeting.